People believe that RM has left South Korea and is doing something else with his time right now, and this has gotten a lot of conversation. People are talking about the fact that the BTS reunion may not happen, then JK faces an emergency, or what people believe is an emergency. Say Dumplings, it's Dave Disci, let's get into it. People were very shocked when, after a recent live stream with JK still in his uniform, people noticed a lot of scars on his lower elbow area and forearm area. They noticed about maybe 3 or 4 scratch marks that seemingly were healing, and pretty long scars too, and given how the scars were a little bit bumped, it looked like it was a fairly deep scar as well. These were all taken just from screenshots of the recent live stream that JK and Jimin both did when they came out of the military, and JK apparently decided to roll up his sleeves, and everyone got a chance to see this. Obviously, this would have been a different reaction if the boys hadn't just come out of the military, and it would be a different situation altogether, because many people would think what was going on would be different. Like, is he cutting himself, right? Why are there scars there? But obviously, him coming back from the military, we can kind of figure out what was going on. Of course, there is combat training in the military where I think knives and stuff are used, but this was very strange because he was a lead chef in the military. It wouldn't necessarily make any sense that he would get cuts like that. While finger cuts or hand cuts make a lot of sense as he's cooking and cutting up the food, in what situation would it make a lot of sense to have cuts that high up when cooking? Like, that's like saying you cut your knees while cooking, which doesn't make sense at all. Well, of course, I have some theories here, so let's talk about those. Now, the videos we are seeing and where the screenshots are coming from are not super high HD videos. Live streaming cameras typically suck when it comes to quality, especially ones where they might be attached to a webcam or something like that. So when people zoom in on the scars and screenshots, we can expect that those moments are going to be even more blurry. This is important to note because we don't actually know what the scar fully looks like right now. So you have to take in consideration his duties as a chef in the military. He likely had really big pots and pans that he had to stir it and get in there. He maybe was also cleaning those pots and pans while they were hot and stuff like that. So being elbow deep in a pot, either stirring it or cleaning it, it can result in the edges touching you, and if it's hot enough, it can literally leave a burn mark like that, and possibly what we are seeing are just blister marks. Of course, these things will heal over time. I'm sure all of us have gotten some sort of burn mark from cooking, things like that, when you're taking things out of the oven or you're touching the metal bars. For me, they've led to scars on my fingers as well. It's not completely strange to think that they have these really big ovens, or maybe even a walk-in oven in the military, and then of course it could lead to someone going in, touching something, getting a mark. Some people, of course, were very much concerned over the same thing, like, I hope he was okay, and is this more of a severe injury than what we think it is? To me personally, it feels like it is, because I have such a phobia or fear of big ovens, and basically Hansel and Gretel is like my worst fear. However, when I'm not being dramatic and I can actually think about it, it obviously isn't that big of an issue, as these wounds can heal. They take time, but they do heal, and eventually it will be fine. But I would imagine that they would probably forever leave some sort of scar. I mean, I still have scars from burn marks from years ago. There was actually one burn mark that I got during a trip or a vacation. I actually wanted that to stay because I wanted to remember that, but it went away. And so it does go away, but it just took me years. But that's not the only concern that people are having recently, as since the BTS boys have been in the news, there's a lot of conversation. RM was recently announced to be the ambassador for Samsung's Art TV. This is such a cool position, as he is in charge of promoting art, and this is a completely different job than what the BTS members are doing. This is not music and doesn't involve that. This is not even acting or really fully in the entertainment space, but it's just him using technology and using his influence to promote this art. And it's of course something that he's very passionate about. He's done this for years already without being paid, and he likely is being paid as an ambassador now, or I would hope so. And of course his goal isn't to just promote, but to mitigate a deeper level of understanding with all the art that exists in Korea. Because art can get boring to a specific crowd, but he's making it more interesting and less painful to consume. I'd be very curious to know how many people within the BTS community have opened their minds to go more into art exhibits and things like that since seeing RM do things like that. So please let me know. But this was not it, as RM was also invited to do a session, I'm assuming talking or being a speaker at the Art Basel in Basel, Switzerland. This is a world premiere art fair. It's a very big deal, and obviously our boys are not doing small activities. We don't know fully what he's going to be talking about, but some of the things that are there are topics about art collecting, contemporary art, storytelling, through art, which of course I would assume he fits right into the storytelling with art. This is an activity that seems like a passion project for Arm to do, and I'm glad that he is doing these things. And I've said so many times before, when we start to see the boys do other things and the community starts to freak out about it, we should not be freaking out about it. In fact, we should be excited and happy to see them do things like this, and not just simply because it makes them happy, but because if they are doing these things, which are things that normal people would want to do, any person who has their own individual thoughts and ideas are going to want to explore alternative things and things that fit them. And if we see them doing those things, that means that they're not holding it in, and thus they're not going to blame the group for not allowing them to pursue these things. So there's not going to be any animosity towards the group and towards any of the members, like in the future, because the individual members have gotten the opportunity to do what they want to do and what their heart tells them to do. So what all this means is that the boys are going to come back together and be even stronger because they now know their individual selves much better. There's also this other notion that I want to tap into and talk about, which I don't think people ever fully realize, which is something that a lot of people within Asian culture realize. Even if they don't like to be in a group anymore and they see it as kind of not their passion anymore, they likely still would do it, and they would just consider it a job, which is it is a job. But the same way that everyone might have a job that they don't necessarily enjoy but still clock in and do it, they would still be part of the group. And I think a lot of people also look at celebrities and say, well, they're going to stop doing something that they don't want to do, but everyone does things that they don't want to do. That's part of life. I feel like a lot of people are going to look at celebrities and say, well, they're going to stop doing something that they don't want to do and that their heart isn't calling them to do. But everyone does things that they don't want to do. That's part of life. And that isn't to say that they don't want to do like the BTS reunion or anything like that. But this is to say that even if they don't want to, or you have this concern of them not wanting to do it, it doesn't mean that they won't do it. But recently, some label insider at HYBE apparently allegedly had some things to say about what the reunion is going to look like and when it will be. There's been some rumors floating around that the reunion is going to be on June 20th. I don't know why they came up with that date and where that date fully came from, but that was the belief from well before any of the members went to the military. Rumored that it was going to be in the middle of 2025 and all that stuff. However, according to allegedly some people inside the label, as well as just general things that have been rumored and reported around the reunion, is that it likely won't happen until March 2026. That date or month has been floating around for a while, but the actual specific day in March was not mentioned, and some people think it's going to be in the middle of March. However, and of course, as you can imagine, this is very far away from June 20th this year, and of course, since we've all been waiting for the reunion for such a long time, this date is going to feel even longer than anything. No, I don't fully know what the boys are going to be doing this time, because it typically won't take, I think, 9 months to create an album. The boys have done a comeback from a tour and created a whole new album and concept within 2 months. So I would imagine that 9 months is way more than enough. But it's probably there to let the boys finish up some of their solo work. We might even see JK go on tour. We might even see J-Hope do more stuff. We don't know. But I think all of this is important to give the boys a little bit of a break and allow them to do what they want to do before the comeback happens. Of course, I won't lie, the comeback seems to be being pushed back over and over again, but this was something that was mentioned to us right from the beginning, that a lot of people just didn't want to listen to. It was this idea that the comeback is going to be a mystery. We won't know when that date actually is, and it likely will shift depending on if things happen the way that things happen. And whatever. That date was more so a suggestion rather than a hard contractual agreement, if you will. There was also belief that one of the groups at HYBE and Hypen was going to push their comeback date, which was going to initially be in March of 2026, but now it's going to be pushed to January to make room for BTS's comeback. This is all alleged by various articles. I don't know where they're getting that information from, but a lot of this is from pretty reputable news sites like Variety, India Times, and sites like that. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious to know. And of course, if we have to wait a year, we have to wait a year. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.